Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the MuscleMind podcast. I'm here with the lovely and sexy, as always, Cody Robinson. How you doing, man?
I'm good. I'm feeling it today. Yesterday, not so much, but I'm good.
Yeah, I tell you, I'm just glad it's Friday and it's February 1st. It's a new month. Feels like January had 85 days in it.
Yeah, sun's out. Sun's out finally. So
yeah, that's true. It's not 20 degrees.
Sun's out, guns out. Not quite warm enough for buns out, but it's...
Hey, there's people out there still putting them buns out, man.
That's true.
It's all over the place.
If you're listening to us and you got your buns out, congratulations.
Yeah, you're winning already. Today we're gonna so this episode is gonna be kind of geared towards everyone in the health and fitness world, I guess you would say, especially more or less for personal trainers, and I think it might give a good insight to our clients and the clients that we have with HomeFit and across the board, what it's like to actually be a personal trainer day in, day out, what schedules are like, the pros, cons of it, the goods and bads, I guess you could say. A lot of people now want to be a personal trainer. They want to help as many people as they can, and they want to create that business aspect. But I think a lot of times people who first get into it, they have some good fire about them at the start, and then they realize that, this isn't just like your clocking in, clocking out type of job. I've got several notes here, and I'm just going to go through each little bullet point, no particular order, and we're going to just kind of talk about the struggles and the solutions that we've kind of come across. But like I just said, running your own business, doesn't matter what it is. Nowadays, you can have a personal training business, and it can be very profitable if it's done correctly. But it's literally a 24-hour deal.
It is. There's a lot more, I think, components that we're going to touch on that people don't really think about, because a lot of times if it's a service or a product, it can kind of be on your time, kind of your schedule as the service person or practitioner in health and fitness, especially personal training, is not that way. And then on top of that, I think it really aligns with, there's a book called The E-Myth by, I think Gerber, his last name. I may have told you about it before. It changed my perspective on a lot of things when it comes to entrepreneurship. And because that's basically what, if you are out on your own, or even if you're doing personal training, like some on the side, some in a gym, some for another company or whatever, you do have to think like an entrepreneur and really be prepared for all the other stuff that goes with it. I think the entrepreneur, the E-Myth, and I'll leave it this, is he really calls it the entrepreneurial seizure. It's like people get tired of working at a gym or whatever, and they're like, screw it, I'm going to do it on my own.
Yep.
It's happened. We hear this more often than not in personal training. I'm going to do it on my own, and you get excited, you get your brand launch, you have new logos and all this stuff, and then the day-to-day grind starts to hit you.
Yeah. You
start getting bogged down from the training. The business side, for sure, is what most people don't want to do, and so they revert back, and so it's kind of like, this is great, and they go back to just trying to be a practitioner, and the business suffers.
Right.
And so there's so much more in that we're gonna cover.
It's really all about balance too. Like you just said, a lot of people will, work at a, big gym for a little bit, which is, I definitely highly recommend anyone that's getting into personal training to definitely, get somewhere that's already established so you can kind of see how everything goes. But whenever they branch out, they realize that even like, I don't even have pens. I don't have pads. I don't have.
You don't have systems in place. You don't have anything
set up. I have nothing set up at all. I've been able to kind of just use someone else's systems to grow my business and kind of feed off my business. But now you got to go through and you got to get on social media. You got to figure out how to get leads. You got to figure out all these different tactics that personal trainers for years have been using. Yeah. I mean, even with now, like learning about Facebook ads and how integral
that's right.
that can be. Yeah. And it took us, literally sitting down hours.
And trial and error too.
Yeah.
That's why it helps if you know your niche. And if you're a company as a whole, it can be sometimes a little bit harder. But if you know your target age group or whatever, you can kind of hone it in. But there's a lot, and it's a noisy world. There's more and more people who want to become trainers. They're leaving other jobs. It's funnier to me to see people. I shouldn't say. Yeah, it's funny to me. I'm not gonna lie. It's my podcast.
It's your podcast.
It's funnier to me to see people leave like a corporate job setting because they are some type of group fitness instructor, and they're like, I love it, and this is what I want to do for life, and they go from like making $100,000 a year And then they're like,
I knew a guy who did that.
I actually know.
Yeah,
I know a couple people.
He was, and this guy's a complete shit-tard. I hate him. But he was making, according to him, he was making $100,000 a year.
Yeah.
At a corporate gig, and then he stepped out of that. I think it's something like the I don't know, like real estate or something like that. And he started training because he realized you can make a little bit of money doing it. And then after about 6 months, he's like, oh shit,
yeah.
Like this is a,
he's living above his means at that point.
That's right, and you got to continue to go, and which we'll kind of segue in now to like daily schedules.
Yeah.
If you are a trainer or you're looking to be a trainer, you're gonna have early mornings. You're gonna have late nights. That's how I've always been.
Especially when you start out. I mean, you eventually learn how to hone stuff in, and you're kind of at the mercy of other people's schedules. Right. And that's why it's so spread out.
I mean, for a long time, I didn't do any training from like 12 p.m. to 3:30. And then now, I mean, I have a client, I have clients come in about 1:30 and then 2 and stuff like that. So it kind of changed. I guess I just never really found that particular person in the schedule. But as far as like a daily schedule, getting up at 4:30 if you have a client at 5 and making coffee, and if you want to eat breakfast, you better get up a little bit earlier. Yeah. And you go meet that client at 5, and then maybe your 6 o'clock cancels, but then your 7's coming and they're running late. So it's constantly, your schedule is always kind of doing this.
Yeah, it made me think something that nobody ever thinks about. So, we give so much advice on, get up in the morning. Every trainer has different approaches. But it's like, what's the first thing they do? It might be, drink a glass of water. It might be get something in your system, like take some time to yourself to kind of kickstart your day. Like all this stuff that the typical person can get up at 6 a.m., ease into it.
Sure.
7:30, they're fighting traffic. And that's what's funny is we tell everybody else that, but if we can try to apply that ourselves, you're having to get up 2:30 to 3:30 like Rick does.
That's right.
And that's just, anyway, a lot of people don't think about that. It's like we coach everybody else to do this, but our time frames, we have to restructure our lives.
It's completely different. Because I mean, if you do, like I usually get home around 9 p.m. usually. Yeah. And sometimes I got to get up around 4:45 or 5. Well, that doesn't leave very much time to plan and prepare for the next day, and then you're tired obviously whenever you get up. But as soon as your feet hits the ground, like you're in go mode, and then 30 minutes later you're sitting there in front of a guy, you're trying to motivate him, trying to get his exercise in, and preach the things that you probably didn't do whenever you first got up.
Yeah, I'm laughing too because those early morning clients, and we were talking about this some last night, but like it's so difficult. It makes the whole day. It makes it hard to start the day. It's different when it's a client who is really not driven to be there.
Right.
If you got somebody,
that's so true.
If you got somebody who's like happy, they're ready to go. I mean, your day is so much better. You get those people, it's like
they just don't want to be there.
They like look at you like, I hate the fact that you're here.
Yeah.
I mean, we're like, hey, I'm here, but deep down inside
and then that's when you start to question, which we'll get into it. Yeah, which we'll get into. Is the money worth it? As far as like training clients like that, and finding particular and like personality matches up, but if someone reaches out to you about training, 9 out of 10 trainers are not going to say no. Right. And that's kind of the hard part with talking about daily schedules, and if you're not a person that is going to be able to deal with basically a 24-hour schedule, business wise. I meet some clients at 10 o'clock at night if they're in the medical field and they had to stay late or something like that, and then all of a sudden they might be like, well, I don't want to train anymore. Doesn't matter what you've done for them up to that point with their schedule, it still ultimately falls upon them.
We're saying this right now, if you're thinking of jumping into training, or maybe you're just starting out, and we're not trying to like,
no, we'll get into the good stuff.
We'll get into the good stuff. It's the hard reality that people don't realize, and that's why you have to dive deep you hear it so much more nowadays of why do you do it. Right. And you have to go back to the why that you do it, and the relationship aspect that we like to really kind of bring out, and that's what really separates great trainers from mediocre trainers. That's what makes people different, the ones who love their job, the ones that like you know, I'm a personal trainer versus like I change people's lives.
Right.
Like, you know, so we're about to transition to some of the better stuff here in a little bit, but there's some hard realities that
and we're going to get to those first.
some people don't get. Yeah,
they
don't understand.
It's very true. And we had talked about you know, our own, you know, workouts that we do and finding time to train. I remember back even probably up to 2.5 years ago, probably 2.5 years ago, I would work out an hour and a half a day for six days a week.
Yeah, I love seeing them, like, the young cats that's still in school. And they're not having to do it for a living or whatever.
Well, you do this for a year. Yeah. Even if you do this for like 3 months, where you're training, you know, like we do 20 to 25 people a day, and you're dealing with all types of different personalities, and your brain is having to switch from working out from like a 75-year-old, you know, woman who's trying to, you know, rehab something, then automatically your next client's a 25-year-old stud who wants that high energy. It's mentally more so than physically draining.
It's draining, yeah.
And then spend all that time in the gym, and then okay, it's time for you to get your workout in.
Well, if you think about it too, I mean, it's like any other profession, except ours just makes it even harder. It's like if you do something all day, some days the last thing you want to do is train another person, including yourself.
That's right. There's a lot of days, man, I'm like, oh man, I could go take a nap right now, or you know, or go home and whatever. But a lot of the times, you know, just you know, as a trainer, you have to figure out how to motivate others. Right. And sometimes you got to figure out how to motivate yourself.
The harder transition is when you're talking about personalities of people and skill sets. And not everybody has this, but if you're jumping into it, you know, I highly recommend you take on a variety of clientele, because it's only going to help you sharpen your abilities to transition. But yeah, it's harder when you go with somebody who's like, you know, young and all out or whatever, don't have any kind of limitations. And then you go to some that needs to be tapered, like, you know, half the speed. Right. Demeanor has to be slower.
There's a lot more attention.
Conversation has to be, you know, kind of a different approach. And there's just some days if you're already exhausted coming up the day, and you have to watch yourself. You have to watch your reactions to people. Yes. I mean, 'cause that's the last thing you want.
That's a huge thing.
To snap on somebody because it's been a hard day and you're just tired. I mean, this is a good statement I'm gonna share, and then we'll go however you want to go, but. Michael Hyatt, you'll hear me say his name a lot because he's like a virtual mentor to me. But he talked about when he would go home in days that he was just defeated, you know, just felt just so defeated. And that's why some days you feel that way. You're just beat up. You're like, I just need a break.
For no reason sometimes.
But his wife, she asked him one time, and this still sticks to me, and it helps me get over it. It's like she'd ask him, like, are you defeated or are you just tired? And usually for us, we're just tired. Like, you're mentally wore out. You didn't time your food right. Like, if you didn't eat before you go train somebody that's mentally demanding. Yeah. Anyway, there's just a lot of stuff that moving pieces people just don't understand.
There's a lot of stuff that goes into it.
But that can help you kind of overcome those days where you're like, I think this might be the last day I train this person because I can't handle it anymore.
had that this morning.
I knew that was coming.
Yeah, shoot, yeah. But you deal with it and you just move on because. You know, which we'll get into the good stuff in a little bit. Just also piggyback off of, you will definitely get less healthy.
Yeah, especially in the beginning, and it's going to be ups and downs too. But it is. You really have to watch yourself.
Yep, I think mine is just the eating aspect. You training someone for 6 or 7, training people 6 or 7 hours a day. If you don't take or in a row, if you don't take the time to plan out your food and you don't have any food, then that's going to really hinder, and then you got to work out after training for X amount of hours. But another thing that took me a while, and it's so true, is when you stop worrying about the money and you start focusing more on your client, then you'll make more money than you can ever imagine doing it.
Yeah, I mean, it works out and it shows. And the thing is too, it's like anything that's when you're in your own head and you're stressing over that stuff, it outwardly shows to other people too. But if you're focused on impacting other people, looking for opportunities to be able to help them, even your foundational knowledge can help so many people. Just the basic information can change their lives. And when you get that type of hook and that mindset, it really exudes. And the fact that you see that and you're able to engage in the conversation with people that you meet versus thinking, I really need to try and sell this person because
right.
I need the money. It's like you just talk to them.
You get
next
engaged.
Thing you know, there's that connection.
Yeah, that's right.
So yeah, I get what you're saying.
It's true. I mean, most clients will end up kind of switching into being friends.
Yeah.
A lot of times, trainers will end up dating clients, or trainers will date like other trainers, and it gets messy and mushy.
Well, so it can be that, and then sometimes it can be you get to the friend, like develop the rapport and the friendship, and then that becomes a little bit stronger than the business aspect.
Right.
The next thing you know, they're trying to nickel and dime you down.
That's exactly what I was going to get into. Yeah.
They're like, you almost like lose the client aspect of it, and then it makes the friendship. You know?
That's why.
So there's got to be clear barriers.
That's right. You got to have strict regard, but that's why I have a huge no dating client deal, because you're going to lose money, you'll lose a client, more than likely lose a friend, and because you'll probably date that person for a little bit, and then something's going to end up happening, and somebody's going to get pissed off, and then he or she's going to go run your mouth about your business. It's just never a good situation.
Sounds like it's familiar to you.
It is familiar to me. Of course it is.
Okay.
That's why it's been a huge thing about mine for the past several years. It's worked out. It really kind of establishes that line.
Thankfully, a lot of my clientele is like over 70.
Well, so, hey, you never know. Some people are into that. I don't know. Speaking of social situations, they definitely like eating out won't necessarily be the same. I just had lunch with a couple of my clients, and they both ordered cheeseburgers, and they looked at me like I was going to jump down their throat,
slap it out of their hand, or something like that.
But that's used to, I would be weary about like going out to eat in public and drinking a beer, because I saw a client, what they say nowadays, I really don't care, but back in my younger,
but it makes sense, because you don't want to have that like false sense of it's almost like false advertisement or whatever,
right? You're
concerned of the judgment part, but when you're genuine, because even like holding back, like not drinking, that's not being true to yourself.
That's right.
Which is
very true.
Still need to get you a shirt that says that, but right. I think that really shows too, and people can see that. And if you're just being yourself, your relationships are going to be stronger. And anyway, yeah,
it's true though. Like I said, I just had lunch, and it's happened to me before all the time about people. You see someone out in public, and they're eating their donut, and they're just kind of looking at you like, like you're about to jump down their throat.
Well, I used to feel weird too. Like if there was everything that I wanted to eat that was like not straight, keto compliant or whatever, and I have my personal training shirt on, that's like,
it really is.
It's kind of weird,
but then you realize that,
you gotta live. You gotta live too. It's the people have to understand that. But anyway, it is funny. People don't think that's what goes through our heads.
But it is legitimately what goes through my head all the time.
Yeah.
I think about it
all the time.
Absolutely. Almost done with the cons about it, but kind of just to be wary. The biggest thing I think we'll both agree is complacency. Whenever you have your business and you stack full with 20 clients and you get super complacent, you're not posting on social media as much, you're not asking for referrals, you're not looking for that next interaction and client, you get very complacent, and your clients will see that.
Yeah, well, they'll definitely see that. That's true too, because even your training, that's a good point. Actually,
your training goes down.
I was the kind of thinking of the point of like you never know when somebody's going to leave.
Well, that too.
But that's another area that we can hit on, and it freaks a lot of people out. So you got to be prepared that no matter how strong the relationship, you don't know what's going to happen.
Right, something could happen in their life financially, or who knows.
Right, and that's happened time and time again. And then you're in an uproar, like you're freaking out, and then you got to be able to handle that. I think more than anything when it comes to training is the shock of loss of clientele.
Yeah,
and then have a strong strategy of being able to bring more people in.
Right,
and but what you were saying about the complacency, it does show in your training.
Absolutely.
Like it doesn't, like the workouts almost get repetitive, or you're doing the same thing over and over, and they can really pick up on that. It's, when you first start, it's like fresh. Like
everything's new.
Everything's new. Every workout's a new workout. You want to pull almost, especially the ones that are fully capable of doing them. You want to pull like every crazy thing out. Bet you never seen that before.
You're right.
And then the next thing,
training for 6 months.
Right. And then
they're like, "Hey Matt, we've literally done this 100 times.
Right.
Let's do something else." And then that's really a gut punch to you.
It is, because it makes you feel like you're not good at what you're doing.
Doing your job. Yeah. Right. And it does. It's like an instant like an instant thing, but they're paying you quality money to produce results and things like that. So a lot of it is, varying your workouts, and that's a lot of it's continuing education, watching people, finding people on social media that do have a big clientele, what they do, not mimic, but mimic what they do.
You can't. You too. I mean, if you feel like your well is dry versus trying to go get another freaking certification.
Yeah.
I love certifications. At the same time, I don't think if you're going to go spend $1,000 to get 10 more exercises and a little bit more information,
right? It's
not always. So I didn't mean to go down that road, but I mean, like,
true.
You have resources at your fingertips.
Everywhere.
You can YouTube it, and there's times I'd watch circuits of people, whatever, and I'd pick up like one little different.
Could be a game changer in your workout,
and it completely changes it.
Love it.
I would say too, though, when you're don't always put it fully on yourself. I mean, you are the professional, and that's what you're supposed to do. But ask them. Like, don't forget to ask the client for their feedback.
Well, I think a lot of people are scared to do that.
Yeah, but it's like, what do you think? What do you think we're doing? And they'll tell you if they're like, I think we're good. I actually like knowing what we're doing.
Right.
Every once in a while you'll get those, but sometimes you'll get like, well, I'd like to really work on this area, or can we change the pace up? Or I saw somebody doing this on Facebook the other day, and then it gives you direction to hit.
Right. Yeah. I totally agree. A lot of mine, I write workouts on little whiteboards, so all my clients see exactly what we're doing,
right?
And can always tell. It's like they're like, I'm like, well, I might want to. I probably know what she's talking about. I probably need to change that to something else, something that's a little bit more challenging or easier, whatever the case might be. Another big aspect about it is your schedule gaps that you're going to have and cancellations. It happens. Yep. It happens all the time. I mean, you might be waiting at the gym and someone cancels last minute. I had a new client prospect yesterday. I met her at the gym and she canceled last minute, and that's just all a part of the process. But then I got someone else contacted me last night about training, so it all kind of like balances itself out. I think staying positive,
right,
and learning how to keep people motivated through your phone. I think if someone's canceling all the time, you're gonna have to stay on top of that.
Yeah, I mean, set yourself a reminder, like shoot so and so a text at 5 p.m. the day before. I mean,
sent like 4 of them out today about random stuff.
Yeah, and people get busy, and sometimes it's a season of their life they're gonna have to get through. I ask clients a lot of times too, though, when they're new and kind of coming through, of like, when do you feel like you could work out the best? And especially if you're going to be a trainer that's like going to try and train, 12 to 15 hours a day, as far as like availability schedule wise, you're going to have the gaps.
I don't recommend that.
As far as like asking them when they do it.
Yeah. No, they're training 12 to 15 hours.
No. I mean, you have to, you really,
that's tough.
And we're talking about this stuff in the beginning because you really got to hone it in, because it's not, you lose your quality of life in a hurry, and it can drain your passion.
Yes.
But so I think that could be a whole nother area of like, how to really tighten it up. And so we're giving some good feedback, but maybe we could touch on some of these later. But that's the thing, what I was hitting on that was like, if somebody comes to you and says, well, I've always worked out at 4 p.m. or 5 p.m., but it'd probably be better if I do 5 a.m. I guess I'll try it. Those people are usually going to cancel on you, and not show, because they're already telling you, I'm not a morning person.
Right. But if someone's like, I've been working out at 5 a.m.,
then if you can plug them in, then they're going to be the ones that you want to do in the 5 a.m. A lot of people don't think about that too, because think about anything else you do. If you try to force yourself to do something in a time frame that you're not willing to do it, your commitment is not going to be as strong either. Right.
I mean, it'd be like us scheduling the podcast at 3 a.m. on Friday mornings instead of 1 p.m.
Yeah.
We
could make it happen. You and I would make it happen.
We could do it, but it'd be like,
it's gonna be
is
like
that smart? Is that like smart to do? I think that's a real good point. Is knowing client schedules, asking questions. They're more than likely going to tell you.
Yeah.
Especially before they hand that money or they make that commitment to you, they're going to want to get everything out that they have.
Yeah.
We could really go into deep things about like policies, and we could go really deep with this.
Well, I think policy is something that you said, and that's one thing that we, especially with like HomeFit, is we try to help people.
Yeah, all that's taken care of.
Not get jerked around and stuff too, especially like the 24-hour cancellation policy. And I know that's strong, and that's hard. Even when you work at a gym, if you know a gym has a 12-hour cancellation policy, of like the client gets charged if they don't show. Everybody, and like Linda says, she gives one mulligan. But she makes sure they're aware of the of the policy up front.
Right.
And when you use the word policy, it actually separates it actually gives you,
it's a business
like
agreement.
a business agreement, and there's just that, like, you don't have to be like, if you don't show up, you're getting charged. And like, just reminder, they wanted to just tell you that.
Right. Well, I think
you
too,
might lose your next one if you don't. There's ways that you can phrase
there's
it.
ways you can do it, and I think too, making yourself. I had a conversation with a trainer that we have with HomeFit, making yourself look busier and make yourself or perceive your time to be very, very like important.
Full and important. Because, well, the thing is too, the perception is key, because that also, when you do have an opening in your schedule, people's going to be like, oh man, I need to jump in now because he's going to fill it up.
Right.
The other component of it is people need to respect your time. And trainers, because they care about people, especially the right kind of trainers, actually most trainers, they care about people, and so that's the biggest struggle, is either they charge too less, or they're like pushovers, because this client is trying to, almost like they can sense it when you're like, whatever you want. I mean, it's one thing to be committed to them, lock it in, and be understanding and be able to kind of reschedule things from time to time. But there is
taking advantage of.
Yeah, it happens to trainers all the time. That's the thing too. It's like, if somebody's bringing up, and you got to try to control your schedule, even if you're going to train all day long. Yeah, you need to try and stack the people
as much as you put,
as much as you can,
sure,
so they don't jerk you around. Because some people, if you let them get away with it once or twice, you're going to be like all over the map.
Right, and that's the same with clients too. If you're not a really big morning person and you're struggling, you want to train clients in the morning, you're struggling, and maybe you overslept like 1 or 2 sessions, your clients are going to get in your ass about it.
Yeah.
Some will. Some just aren't going to re-up when it's time to do it, or something like that.
Have clients.
Yeah. And it might not be something that you need to continue to do, but yeah, like if someone pays for like eight, let's say like 8 1-hour sessions, and you don't have a policy in place of when those sessions expire.
Yep.
It could be a year from now.
I highly recommend at least a month, no more than 2 months. But I usually, if you're going to do 8 sessions,
it's always just 1 week after those 8 sessions.
That's even tighter.
Yeah. I'll make it very tight. Well, it makes it,
Well, people, they drag them. And that messes with your cash flow.
It does.
That's the other hardest thing, is when people have a structure of session packages and not have a strong, tight policy on loss of that. That's why HomeFit's structure is a subscription model. It's like they know they're doing 2 days a week. They're not trying to, even though it might be 8 sessions, they're not thinking of it of 8 sessions I'm going to try and stretch out. Like, the frequency is much higher. Right. You may have to reschedule, plug in, or whatever, but that's
as long as you work with people.
That's the whole reason we designed it that way. Sure. Because it's a different. It gets out of that, and there's not that thought process of they're thinking, okay, I bought 16 sessions. They're already in their head. They're thinking of when they're going to stop training.
Right. It's very true. If you just consistently, you do it that way. I do it different from my Thrive stuff. Most of my people do 3 months at a time.
Right.
But it's all count by like a session based deal.
Right.
A lot of them will end up. It's just, I guess it's just how I sell it. I guess I'm not really sure, but
if I was doing it independent, I would probably do 3 months with a kick, and it kicks into a recurring.
That's exactly what I do.
Okay, that's probably what I would do too.
Yeah, Venmo now actually lets you do that.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Pretty wild.
If you're out there and you're training, if you can figure out a way to flip into a recurring, and if anybody listens to Bedros Keuilian, I think I sent you some stuff last night. That's a game changer for a lot of people.
Yeah,
because it's less time. Yeah, because it's less time that you're having to have the money pitch.
Right.
Which makes it awkward for a lot of people.
It does, and I didn't think it was going to be that hard, asking someone for money. But I tell you, I'm going to tell you right now.
It's super hard.
It's hard. It's kind of an awkward situation. I guess the more you get confident now, I don't have any problem with it. It is what it is. Like, if you want to train, this is what it's going to be.
Right.
If not, someone else will.
Well, that's when you get to that point too, of like you're the way that you're,
just how you present it.
How you present yourself.
Right.
At that point. Yeah.
And then, but it can get hard with some people, and then collecting. If you don't have some kind of monthly recurring deal, tracking someone or shooting someone a text like, hey, don't forget about your training dues. That takes a lot of time, and then they might forget it, and then now you got to wait till next week, and then you got to remind them again because they got all kinds of things going on. So staying on top of collecting your money, it could either take a large portion of your day, or it could be very minimal, as long as you take the time to invest and set it up.
Right, and that's the thing too. Is somebody, when you start off as a trainer, you don't have any systems in place, and that's draining too. When you're thinking nothing is harder to me, is in the past at least, when you're training a client who hadn't paid in 2 weeks.
It's tough.
I'm just saying, like,
what do you do?
I know. I mean, I'm just saying, like, I shouldn't say like nothing's harder, because you're still committed to them and it's going to work out. But we were talking about the strains of worry of money.
Sure.
And it's like, if you're not careful, I should say it this way: if you're not careful, if you allow yourself to worry more on that side, your quality of training is going to lag, because you're like, well, frankly, I don't feel like I'm getting paid. So why am I going to get my new service?
That's going to blend into more and more sessions that you do that day too.
Right.
If you're able to be lackadaisical towards one person,
it is a slippery slope.
And if you're having a client that's been working out with you for several months and she's consistent, and then her car breaks down, and she's like, hey, can I get a break next month? And it's like, those things that you have to establish in your head, if this is what you're going to do, and you really have to be consistent with everyone, because if that person goes and tells their friend that, oh, I'm training with Matt for half of what I usually do because of so-and-so, then that person might try to take advantage of you too.
Yeah.
So
there's a lot of moving pieces that go into it. Research it. There's a lot of information out there that can help you streamline it. The more you can streamline stuff and get it kicked out there and just let it be what it is, and that's less worry off of your head, because you have to get if your own personal brand or whatever, you have to get it to the point to where you can keep most of your attention and your energy on the client themselves, because the relationships with the clients is like where the most enjoyment comes from what we do. You see that impact, you see how it can help other people's families, all that stuff. And if you don't allow yourself to be present and in the moment and actually see how you're helping them, and a lot of times they help you, if you're the back of your head is on the business side, which is honestly why I've got to step out of training, because you got as far as the HomeFit setting, there's a lot more moving pieces. But, anyway,
so that's a lot of the hard day-to-day stuff with personal training. Now the positives, everyone knows what the positives are going to be. I mean, helping other people, changing people's lives, impacting them mentally and physically. I hear all the time about the changes mentally people make by training and having all these knowledge bombs dropped on them about just all kind of stuff. I mean, it could be stuff that's related to fitness. It could be any kind of, you're basically like a therapist to 95% of your clients. So anything, any kind of knowledge that you can give them, and it helps improve their life all around. Maybe they just want to vent. They don't have anybody else to vent to. I mean, that's nothing. You get ready to have your ears talked off, because
I mean, I feel like there's three categories of professions that really fall in the same format with that. And it's like trainers, hairstylists, and bartenders.
So true.
And I guess therapists, but not everybody goes to therapy. They come to us instead.
That's right, they do. But
I would say another perk, and I started not to say this, but I shouldn't say perk.
It's your podcast.
Because it's cool, because when you get invested in these people's lives, you see, especially a lot of our clientele, they are self-made people. Yeah. They have a lot of opportunity. They want to give back for the commitment that you've given to them. So if you're in the right, who knows when you might have a trip that you get paid for, that tickets to a game that you might get, a dinner. I mean, I nearly lost it one day, because there's one restaurant. I'm emotional anyway, but there was like one restaurant in Birmingham that I always wanted to go to, but it's so freaking expensive. And a client gave me a $100 gift card. I was going to cut the bill in half. Yeah. But I was like so overwhelmed by that, because those types of things, like I don't know, like for us, I think this is a good point to, if any clients that might be listening, or friends of ours or whatever. I think appreciation, and it don't have to be monetary anyway. Right. Like appreciation is really all that we need to like keep the drive and the passion going for you.
I can tell you my experience. I mean, I had a client this morning. She brought me 6 chocolate donuts. Days made, man. Yeah. I mean, I have, like you said, I had a client taking me to Barcelona, Spain this year. Mm-hmm. Got me Duke basketball tickets. There's, clients do stuff for me all the time. I got Christmas.
Mm-hmm. Christmas is fun.
I mean, Christmas gift cards and cash and presents but it's that all. But as a trainer, you get those things for a reason. You don't get them just because they decide, oh, you're,
Yeah, here you go.
Here you go. There's people that don't do that for their training.
Well, I think for us, because we do appreciate it so much, and it shows, and it also validates what we do with our life, like with our profession.
Absolutely.
Again, not that it has to be done that way, but as we're talking about the positives.
Yeah, just a trainer aspect.
It's just that's something that's going to happen. And if you haven't received any like nice gifts like that, you suck at training.
These people are going to start going crying and stuff. Just kidding. But it's there's a lot of perks of being a trainer. You can do trades with people. I mean,
true. Yeah.
All my car insurance and renter's insurance is I do a trade for it. I mean,
the thing about that, not just the insurance thing, but I think about, and this is when I kind of flipped, where I realized where I do belong. As far as the health and fitness world, fitness is the one thing that applies to every single person on this earth. I mean, like health and fitness, like that's no matter where you come from, and you've heard me say this before, like no matter your socioeconomic status, like what you do for a living, race, color, whatever, like your health and what we do touches across the board.
So true.
So that's also opens up a lot of opportunity to be able to do, just to see and get more aspects or perspectives of the world by the clients that you have that are physicians or that are agents or whatever.
Yeah, you meet some cool people.
So I mean, to me, that's it's the stories that you hear, and to me, like the self-made people, the business owners that I've trained, that's come from nothing, middle of nowhere, had some of the hardest times. George, one that Rick trains now, he talks about probably one of the wealthiest lawyers. It's been around since George is like 86. He says they always try to outpour each other. Talk about how hard it was.
Really?
Yeah. You're like, I didn't have shoes. I'm like, at least you had,
I had to walk 2 miles to go to school.
Yeah, at least you had a floor in the bottom of your car. So anyway,
that's funny.
It's funny.
Yeah, I think that's my main thing. I just like working with people. I'm super introverted, and people get on my damn nerves most of the time. But helping people interact or just interacting with people, helping them, it's pretty cool.
Just so you know, I've had told a couple people this week that work with HomeFit that you're introverted. They're like, there's no way.
Yeah, that's true.
And it's funny because people don't realize, and this is
Ask my girlfriend. It drives her nuts.
This is not I don't want to get off on my tangent. It could be a whole other episode because people think introverts are like soft and quiet. I mean,
that's not true.
It's not true. There's different components, and
I am very introverted. I stuttered my whole life until I was 18 years old, really bad. I still stutter just a little bit, but it's very small.
Sure.
But now basically I do public speaking all day. Hell, I'm doing a podcast right now.
Right.
And it's getting out of your comfort zone. That could be a whole nother.
That's what I mean. That's why I kind of brought it up, just to kind of lead to something later because it's.
But I think that goes along with your confidence deal. Being a trainer, you have to be confident in what you say,
right,
in what you're doing,
in what you do. That's their clients are going to stay around a whole lot longer.
If you act like you know what the hell you're doing,
fake it till you make it. If you have to, I tell especially young trainers that if they especially went to school or whatever, if they're getting into it or whatever, I don't go in all cocky.
Sure,
you don't have to go in cocky, but go in and have that sense of trust. Even if you're not sure if that person can handle that squat or whatever, don't hurt anybody. But I'm just saying, you have to have that kind of composure if you want to really grow.
Absolutely. You're going to see some people that are going to give you hard times, and some people are going to be super successful, and they have a whole different standard than someone who's just has a regular 9 to 5. Because that's very true. Super successful people have very high standards when it comes to having a personal service like that.
Right.
They expect you to be on time and be very cordial and be quick, and as opposed to someone who might be a little bit more laxed about it. Or
we talked about that a little bit before we started this too, about how you don't get that break.
No.
If you can be so open for people to kind of ebb and flow and cancel on you, whatever. The one time you do it,
it's like the world's going in.
And I'm not saying that's an unfair thing. It's just the reality of it.
No, it is unfair.
But it's true.
It is an unfair thing.
Yeah.
Because you can go as a trainer. You can go all week, and every client you see, you say, "Hey, how you doing? How's your week?" And not one client might ask you how you're doing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's something you have to kind of really understand. That's not why they're there.
Right. I would say too, as we're talking about how to handle these shock and awe things that you have to go through. You really do, because like you start when people cancel or they just quit out of nowhere or whatever. You know, there's going to be times that somebody just says like, I think I'm done. You know, like I'm done, and it might hit you at the wrong time to the point to where you're thinking, you know, later or once you leave or whatever that, you know, what have I done wrong?
Sure.
A lot of times people are looking for an out.
Yeah.
They're just like they're ready for it, or they're just not. They're tired of training, or they're just they're lazy, and they're just like I don't want to do this anymore, and so they're waiting on you to cancel one time. So don't put so much blame on yourself if you have a hiccup. That you are. I mean, every once in a while, something's going to happen.
It's going to happen.
Car's going to break down, or I mean, you know, a flat tire. You missed the alarm, you know, because it was like the time change or something like that.
It's going to happen.
It's going to happen. You got to be able to bounce right back from it.
Completely. You have tough skin. You got tough skin in life anyway.
Fact.
People smack in the mouth.
Like you said yesterday.
Smack them back.
You're like, I don't like to be around weak people.
No, I hate it. It makes you weak.
Fact.
It does.
Yep.
Being around weak ass people makes you weak. That's a lot, dude. That's a lot. I don't think we really wanted that to be that long, but I mean, it's a lot to go in there. I think it's really important to kind of push that out there for clients to listen to. You know, your trainers, you know, they have lives outside of the sessions that you do.
Relationships. We didn't even touch on the stress on a relationship can be if you don't manage it right.
It very well can be. And if you're a new trainer, you're going to mess that up.
Yeah.
For sure. You're going to have problems in your personal life, in your relationships, as you realize that, you know, yes, you get up at 5 a.m. and you start training and you train till 7 p.m. But when you get home at 7 p.m., you're not done.
Right.
You still got to follow up messages and get ready for tomorrow, the workouts, the blah, blah, blah. And your husband or wife or girlfriend or whatever is sitting there, been home for a couple hours, and she wants your attention.
Right. Yeah.
She wants to talk to your head off.
Frankly, she deserves your attention.
She does.
So that's why you got to man up and figure it out at some point.
Yeah.
But
you man up, you're like, look.
But it does happen. So with that being said, you know, just be prepared for it, or start thinking of how you can handle those kind of scenarios.
Sure. Or find someone that can handle it.
Or be single.
Or just be single.
Not my desire. I'm married. So
that's right.
But some people.
I was single for a long time doing it.
Yeah.
Until I met my girlfriend, she understands.
There's another level, and maybe we could do another podcast on this later as far as like the next phase of training. Yeah. Because what we've talked about now, these are a lot of the realities, but there's a lot of stuff that you and I have figured out that it doesn't have to be that difficult.
Right, and you know,
systems and stuff like that.
Right, and it also gets in the fact of when you get to the point where you can be selective in who you train.
That's when you can fire clients.
I've fired several, but that's right. When you're able to do that, when you get to the point where you're training people that you want to train, or the particular niche or niche.
I say niche. Some people say niche.
That's so stupid. Niche that you can kind of hone in on and really focus on, and how to really attack a certain niche, I guess you could say. But when you get to a point where you be selective in who you work out with,
your quality of life actually starts to change.
It does. And whenever you say, well, so and so was only $50 an hour, why are you $75? You know, how do you respond to that question?
Yeah.
What makes you $25 more an hour?
Right.
Well, you better have a damn good reason.
Sure.
Or a damn good answer, or whatever. You know, there's definitely another phase to it.
Yeah, I mean, you could be as cocky as you can go train the other guy, but
you can't
when you're ready and that doesn't work out, I'm going to be here.
That's right. You know, there's a reason why Bentleys are $200-something thousand, and Chryslers look exactly like it, and it's $40,000.
And that's we could get into what's called prestige pricing too, and then you don't really need to be in the middle of the row. You don't need to because there's people that won't train with you. A lot of times the reason you get lower quality clients is because you charge a lower quality rate, and so they associate the dollar sign a lot of times with the quality of the training.
That's right. And
gyms, quality of gyms.
It's very true. If you're starting out training, you're going to have to be a little bit less than everyone else until you build that clientele up. But when do you make that switch to up your prices and higher, raise whatever it is that you're doing? Because if you're going to want to do that, and what do you do with the clients that are paying less than everyone else?
I would say too, do your market research too, because there's going to be some cities that are higher than others. So don't just do this. I think $30 an hour is a good charge. Right. If everybody else around you is base 70, you can get away with 55, 50, 55 an hour or something like that. So I mean, don't just throw a number out there. Do your market research, because if your other gyms and other trainers, or even mediocre trainers, are charging like $20 or $30 more to base, it's really going to make you look like you're a crap trainer if you're at half the price.
So true. that is true. And whenever I first moved here, I asked someone what the average rate of personal training, and she told me you'd be lucky to get $50 an hour.
Sure.
And I'm like, okay, now I charge $70, $75 an hour.
Right.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
But I think that's kind of like that mentality of it too. I told you I want to be the most well-known trainer in Birmingham.
Sure.
Not the best, because you can't really qualify that, but
right.
The most,
have your different niche markets and stuff too.
But the most well-known, that's like a super lofty goal.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you said, if you have your prices so low that you're going to get clientele that are crap clientele.
Yeah.
I guess you'd say. That's why. Yeah, I think you gotta.
There's a lot that goes into this.
Value your time. I think a lot of trainers don't value their time.
Right.
In relationship to money, time is money.
Mm-hmm. One thing you can't get back is time.
That's very, very true.
It's like my father-in-law says. He says, money I don't have, but what does he say? Oh,
money I have, time I don't.
He says, money I have, time and friends I don't, or something like that. Yeah.
It's something, but it's true.
I can't remember. I messed it up. It's always such a good. It's always
such
a good
man.
quote.
It was good effort, man.
I'll rebuttal. I'll figure that.
That's right.
Oh.
Yeah, that was a good one. But there's a lot. I mean, a lot of good stuff in there. Anything else to add?
No, I think that's good. Thanks for letting us jump on here and kind of. It wasn't a rant at all, because there's a lot of things that I don't feel like we feel as trainers personally ourselves anymore.
No. Yeah.
So it wasn't a rant; it was a reality thing.
Right.
That I think a lot of people don't realize what your trainer is going through to really try and sacrifice themselves to make your life better.
Right. Even though you're paying them.
Right.
That's another one. We could really get really deep into this one. We could, man. There's a lot of ways you can go with it. But yeah, thanks guys for listening to this episode, What Personal Trainers Don't Tell You. Tell us about our awesome sponsor, HomeFit, Cody. What kind of things we got going on?
So thanks guys for listening again. I mean, HomeFit is our primary sponsor. It's obviously my company and Matt works with, and a lot of wonderful trainers. So we do come to you. We provide the equipment, in-home personal training, private yoga instruction, nutrition counseling. We even have some dietitians that work with us, health coaching, online training, virtual training. Yes, you can flip open. You can flip open your flip open your phone and have a trainer train you. Like Matt even would jump out of bed, throw a hoodie on, and commit to training.
Done before.
Check us out. We're just flipped into February. If it's still the month when you listen to this, we're going to do like a 2-for-1 type of thing for couples. So
ooh,
give us a try. Or if you're an individual and are listening to this, you want to try us out, I'll give you 30% off. Why not?
Ooh, very nice.
For 30% off your first month, first session's free.
Damn.
And there we go.
Where do they go to see?
www, as you say, .homefitconsulting.com.
Beautiful.
Fill out that form. We'll get back to you.
Make sure you
I'll probably get back to you in less than 30 minutes.
Cody will do it for sure. All right, guys. Have an awesome, fantastic February. Thanks.